Hey, hello everyone. Good evening. Welcome. All right. So let's continue with where we left yesterday. If I'm not wrong, the last topic that we have discussed about was about the code, correct? We were talking about the SDTM guidelines, and as part of that, we have completed the course and we are about to discuss about the rule. Am I correct? Is this what, sorry, roles? What is the variable roles? That is what we need to discuss. So, any questions on the previous classes, guys? Anyone? We were talking about the SDTM guidelines. So, when we talk about the SDTM guidelines, we have started with the very basic terms like how the things are going to be, how we are going to define them. Those stuff we have started, correct? So, let me give a quick recap of what we discussed yesterday, and we can proceed with the today's session, right? So yesterday we started with the SDTM domains. That is nothing but what is going to be the overview of the domains that we are going to discuss. So we have primarily special purpose domains, events, interventions, findings, trial design models, supplementary domains, and also rel-rec domains. These are the various domains that we are going to discuss as part of our sessions, correct? This is what we discussed yesterday, right? So then, but in detail, we are not going with that right now. We are going to take each of this particular domain and we discuss in detail. All right. So, but before we go with that, we need to know few standards. Those standards we are calling as SDTM guidelines, right? So we all know that observation, a simple observation is nothing but a row in a data set. A domain is nothing but collection of observations in a particular topic. Nothing but a data set. You can consider that as a data set only, more or less, right? A variable. Variable is nothing but a column in a data set. A role, because the role is nothing but what exactly this particular variable is trying to convey, right? What information this variable is actually providing to us, that is nothing but the role. So the role is the one that we are going to discuss today. No worries, we haven't discussed this rest of this class. So first, a domain name is only should contain only 2 letters. As per the STDM standard guidelines, any domain should contain only 2 letters. That's the reason you can see here demographics DM, comments CO, subject events is going, subject elements is going to be SE, SV, AE, MH. If you see all of this, the domain name is only of 2 characters. Irrespective of whatever is going to be the domain it should be of 2 characters. Number 2, every domain should have a proper label. So that I discussed, that I have shown you here. Meaning of the label is nothing but DM means what exactly the DM is. How do I know that DM is, what is the meaning of it? Correct? So that information will be given as the label. Can you see this? SC stands for description overview for the subject elements domain. Correct? So again, we also discussed about the first one, demographics, DM. So what do you mean by DM? DM stands for specifications for the demographics domain model. It is not all about specification for the demographics domain model. Or you can also see at the topic. These are the specification. Sorry, this is the label. Description or overview for the demographics domain model. So everything we have a proper label, correct? Only based on the label we are going with that. And the label should also have maximum of 40 characters. It should not exceed more than 40 characters. Then variable names, that is the columns, right? The columns in the data set should not exceed 8 characters long, right? Let's say you have unique subject identifier. You simply call it as U subject ID, right? So we can also have your age, sex variable, and you can have start date and timestamp. All these variables, whatever the name it is, you need to restrict that to maximum of 8 characters. Then the final output should be in compliance with the SDTM guidelines. I need to say that whatever the output that you have, whatever the final output that you have, the final output should be in compliance with the SDTM implementation guide 3.2. If you are following 3.2, it should be 3.2. If you are following 3.3, it is going to be 3.2. Throughout the design or throughout the course, it's supposed to be the same version. We have to follow the same version standards. Most important thing, yesterday I have also shown that here, if you see all your date variables, even though the date variable is a numeric in SAS, as per SDTM guidelines, the date variable's data type is character. That is, you are going to represent them as a character. The general format that you are going to follow is going to be Y by MM BD10, but you can also use ISO 8601. DA stands for the regular date, and if you go for the DT, it is going to be the timestamp. Then, under the SDTM guidelines, we look at this particular one. We know what is variable now, what is going to be the variable label. Label is nothing but a representation of the general name of this particular one, because you cannot have more than 8 characters. So you are going to use it as an acronym. What exactly that variable is going to talk about, what is the meaning of that particular variable, can be mentioned with the help of the label. It's a very generic one. Type is nothing but, is it a character or a numeric? Control terms or code list or format, simply you can call it as a format. Now we need to understand what is called role, what is called CDISC nodes, as well as the code. Yesterday we also covered code. Code is nothing but, so there are 3 types of code. We can call it as a required, expected, and permissible. Required are the ones, if I mention a variable as a required one, it must be part of my domain. It needs to be included in the domain, irrespective of whatever the variable name is. It's supposed to be part of it. And most important thing, along with your variable representation, the variable value should not be null. It should not be null. Means that there should not be any missing values under the required variables. What is expected? This variable is supposed to be part of your data set, just like your required variable, but the values, the missing values are allowed. Correct? The missing values are going to be allowed. What is the third one? The permissible. Purely your sponsor is the one who is going to, your sponsor is the one who is going to decide whether this variable is to be include or exclude from your domain. Correct? I can say that it is good to have. It is good to have. Even the missing values are going to be acceptable, right? But who is going to take the decision about this particular one? Your sponsor or CRO are the ones who are going to take this particular decision. So these are the ones that we have discussed in the yesterday session. So today, as I mentioned, we are going to talk about the rule. So here you can see code is done. Now we have rule. A role, if I want to talk simply, I can say that the role is nothing but, okay, every variable on the CDISC have a role. You can see study ID, identifier, subject ID is a topic, yeah, timestamp, which is going to be a reference start date, and time date is going to be record qualifier. And you can also see here timing, synonym qualifier, right? So there are going to be a lot of things, not lot, I can say that there are going to be 4 different variables. Number 1, let me talk about that. So there are going to be 4 different variables, starting with, you can type it in any order. There is no restriction like I should go in this way or the other way. You can go in any order of your choice, right? Just allow me a moment. Just a second. All right. So the first one is going to be, you can call this as a identifier variable, or it can be of a timing variable, right? Or it can be of your topic variable, or it can be also a rule variable. When I say rule, in addition to that, we also have something called qualifier. Along with these 4, we can also represent that with the help of the qualifiers. Again, when you go with the qualifiers, there are different qualifiers. One you can call it as a record qualifier, result qualifier, grouping qualifier, synonym qualifier, and finally we have a variable qualifier. So on a whole, your code, it is nothing but it simply represents what exactly your variable is all about. Meaning what this variable, what this variable is trying to convey to you. All it is going to tell you is that what it is trying to convey. All right. For an example, let's understand one by one because each of this is very, very important. First thing, the name itself is telling you identifier. Identifier in the sense it is going to identify some things, or these are the variables which gives identification information. Mean to say, if I go to my implementation guide, if you look at the very first one, study ID. What do you mean by study ID? Here itself you can see study identifier. What study that you are actually doing here? Domain. It is also an identifier because is it a events domain, or is it going to be a demographics, or it is going to be a what to say, subject visits, or what exactly it is, right? So by looking at it, you can identify something, correct? Unique subject identifier, nothing but patient ID, correct? It is something like a patient ID, right? So it is all about identifying something, right? It's simply going to give the information about some information that you are going, based on this you are going to identify. So what are the general examples for this particular one? I can simply say that the examples are going to be your domain. Based on the domain, you can say what data set it is actually. What study you are doing, right? What type of study you are actually doing, study ID, right? So what subject it is, what is going to be the unique subject identifier, USUBJ ID, right? Simply I can say that which gives information, which gives some identification, that we can call it as a identifier variables. Number two, timing variables. Here also the name itself is telling you naming variables are nothing but timing variables are nothing but these are the variables which is representing some date. Exactly. That can be anything. Sanji, you're saying describes the timing of an observation. Wonderful. What that observation can be anything. That can be a trial start date, that can be trial end date, right? Or it can be the date when the collection has happened. That is nothing but the lab collection that we have performed. Or it can be the measurements, when we have actually taken the measurements. Correct? It can be anything when you have taken the measurement. Simply it identifies, or it is gives the information about date, right? For an example, I have a variable called, for an example, I'm just taking the events domain here. In the events domain, I have something called AESDTTC. Exactly. It is going to be date and time, correct? So what is going to be, it simply represents the adverse event start date. What is this? It is going to be your adverse event start date. Or I can also call it as the same thing. I can also take adverse event end date. To say, let's say I have given one drug. The drug, it started giving some side effects. From when this side effect has started, right? That is your adverse event start date, correct? I also have adverse event end date, AEENDTC, right? Or when I look at the lab, so I have LBDTC. What is LBDTC? When the lab started collecting these particular samples. I have scheduled visits, correct? When I say scheduled visits, I can say, or I can go with vital signs start time. All these are going to be the examples. Simply, I can say that these are the variables which represents the date in a very simple way. Now, topic variables. Topic variables are nothing but First thing you need to understand is one domain has only one topic variable, can have only one topic variable. So what exactly is the meaning of this? If you see this particular one, let's say demographic itself, I can have more than one identifier variable. I can have more than one record qualifier. I can have more than one synonym qualifier, right? You can see here it is, here is the other one, right? I can have more than one timing variable. But when you look into this, the entire demographics domain, I can have only one topic variable. The topic variable is the one which will focus the entire meaning of the domain. It focuses on the entire meaning of the domain, right? It specify the focus. Okay, exactly. So Sanchi, right? It is going to give me the information about entire meaning of this particular domain. So the demographics is all nothing but, I can say that it is all about the subject, nothing but patient, correct? The subject ID is going to be my topic identifier. Suppose if I go with the other one, comments, correct? I have coval. Coval is going to be nothing but a comment that are provided by your investigator. That is going to be my topic variable, right? If I say that I'll go with another one, for an example, subject elements, SC domain. There, the element code is the one which I can call it as a topic variable. So let me write it. And in timing variable, EXEN DTC is also there. Yes, it is there. So what do you mean by what you're saying? Maybe are you giving information, Raja, or you're asking something? Are you asking me this EXEN DTC is part of your? Okay, it's there. It is there. I couldn't understand your question. Sorry about it. Right. Yeah. Are you asking whether it is there or not? Means it is there. All right. So remember, guys, you need to understand, and you also need to, let's say that all the topic variables for all the domains should be on your fingertips, right? And I'll give you a simple way or a simple trick to remember those. All right. So let's go with them. So for an example, I have special purpose domains. Try to remember these. These are very, very important. Correct. So what are the various special purpose domains we have? One is demographics. So when I go with the demographics, only for the special purpose domain, try to remember them. So here we already know that it is nothing but my subject ID. That is my topic variable. I have comments. For the comments domain, it is going to be coval. This alone you need to remember, guys. Only for the special purpose domains you remember. For the remaining ones, I'll give you how you can identify them. Then I have SE, which is nothing but here subject elements. When I go with the subject elements, here I have ETCD. The ETCD stands for element code, which is nothing but the element code, right? Because I'm talking about the element, so the element code is going to be the topic variable. Then I have something called here subject visits. When I go to subject visits, the visit number. So the visit number you are going to call it as VISITNUM. So for this special purpose domains alone, remember. For the remaining, I'll give you the trick about how to remember them. So I am going to have the second thing, which is nothing but interventions, right? Interventions domain. So under the interventions domain, can I say that intervention is all about all treatment related stuff is going to be part of this? It have information about the treatments, all treatment related stuff, correct? So maybe if you are not aware of it, just remember that interventions is all about the treatments. So remember this code XXTRT. TRT stands for treatment, and you have two X's. Just remember those two X's. So for now, here I have EX. EX is nothing but your exposure domain, right? You already have your code, right? XXTRT, that is nothing but exposure treatment. Just replace the first two letters with your domain name. That's it. My domain name is exposure. Maybe I'll write it here. Exposure is the domain name, right? So for this, the topic variable is going to be TRT is going to be the common one. The first two letters I simply replace with the domain name. Right from here after, you don't need to remember. Let's say I have EC. So what is EC? EC stands for exposure as collected. Exposure as collected. Now you know the topic code for it. What is the topic code for it? Can someone please tell me? Exactly. The TRT is going to be the same. The first two letters I'm going to replace with the domain name. Right. So what's the next one? I have CM. The CM is stands for concomitant. Right? Concomitant medication. When I go with the concomitant medication, here also you understand how to represent this. Only the first two letters are going to be CM followed by TRT. Exactly. The last one, SU. SU stands for substance use. When I go with the substance use, here also you can simply replace this. How you are going to replace? I'll replace this one with SU followed by TRT. Easy. Only for the special purpose domains you need to remember. From there onwards, you don't need to remember, because if you know what this domain is all about, you can easily form that particular topic variable. All right. So now we have one more domain. What is the other domain? Can I say events? What is events is all about? Something has already happened, something that already occurred. Correct? Something already happened. The event already happened. That you are going to see. Correct? So can I simply say that it is already a term? Exactly. It is already a term. I can simply say that XX followed by term, TER. Since it is a treatment here, I use TRT. Since it is going to be event is something which is already happened. Ankita, what do you mean by concomitant? We can discuss about that in detail when we go with the individual domains, right? Each domain we can discuss completely. Like, let's say that if I consider DM, what are all the variables which are part of this particular DM? What is the meaning of each variable? How to derive it if it is a derived variable? All of them I'm going to explain. So don't worry. All right, for now, even if I go with this particular one, you may forget. It is going to be a deviation. So let's wait for this. We can discuss each of this individually. All right, now something already happened. I can call it as a term. So it is going to be XX term. So what are all the various things I have here? One is adverse events. AE stands for adverse events. The reason why I am writing again and again is you need to hear this again and again. You need to remember this. This is very important, right? So all your domain names and all your topic variables should be on your fingertips. So what I have done here, I have turned the two X's, the first two characters, I have replaced them with the domain name. What is the next thing? I have MH. MH stands for your medical history. So when I go with the medical history, I can simply say MH term. And then I have something called your DS. DS stands for your disposition. When I go with the disposition, it is going to be DS term. And then I have a DV. DV is going to be protocol deviation. Correct? Protocol deviation. So when I go with the protocol deviation, I can simply say that it is going to be DV term. And finally, the last one here is nothing but CE. The CE stands for clinical event. So when I go with the clinical event, it is going to be CE term. All right. So all the events also done. So the next thing is going to be the thing is going to be findings. Findings, the name itself is telling. It is all related to the test category. Correct? You test something and you are going to find something. Correct? So all these are related to test category. So what is going to be our what is a topic variable here. How we are going to form? I simply say that XX test code, TESTCD test code. Each test have a specific code. So the first one is going to be LB, laboratory. So when I go with the laboratory, I can simply say that it is going to be LB term. Right. So the next thing, VS. VS stands for vital signs. So when I go with the vital signs, it is going to be VS term. Sorry, VS. Sorry. Test code. It is going to be VS test code. Correct. So the next thing is going to be EG. EG stands for ECG test. So when I go with the ECG test, the name itself again is telling EG test code. So what's the next one? PE. PE stands for physical examination. So the physical examination for domain, it is going to be PE test code. So the next thing is going to be IE. IE stands for inclusion and exclusion. So both of them we are going to talk about. That is inclusion as well as the exclusion criteria not met. So for this particular one, it is going to be IE test code. So from next class, healthcare encounters is part of even CS. Raja and who and all having idea about your clinical terminology. Whatever we have here, we're strictly going as per CDISC, that is SDTM standard guidelines, and also we are not going with each and every domain. The domains which are very important to us, the domains which we generally work on, only those domains we are actually discussing, right? And generally it won't go beyond these boundaries. There are a lot available, but we are discussing about the ones which are most important and which will be part of your day-to-day work. Then DD. DD stands for death details. So when it comes to the death details, it is going to be DD test code. And the last one, DA. DA stands for drug accountability. Try to remember all these domains, guys, please. Okay. So now it is going to be DA test code. That's it. Now you see here, only for the special purpose domain you need to remember. For all other, you actually don't need to remember. If you know what that particular domain is all about, what they deal with, right? Automatically you can form your topic variables for that. Oh, sorry, still we have one more, which is nothing but your trial design, right? Trial design domains are there now. Only even for that we are going to discuss. For trial design domains, there is no, I can say that code or something, but we try to understand them and we try to remember them. Let's say TA. What is TA? TA is nothing but trial arm, correct? So since it is going to be ARM is nothing but your ARM code, so I can simply say that ARM code, ARMCD. So we have TS. TS stands for trial summary, right? So here the parameter code is the one which is important. So we are going to end up with saying that TA param code, PARM CD, trial parameter code. All right. Then I have TE. TE is nothing but your elements, correct? Trial elements. Now you can see you have elements here as well, where subject elements. So I have subject elements here and I have trial elements here. Both of them are dealing with the elements, right? So whatever is going to be the topic variable here, the same topic variable will come here as well. All right. The next one, TS, sorry, TB. TB is nothing but trial visits, right? Same applicable. What is that? I have subject visits here. The subject visit has visit number. The same thing will be the topic variable here as well. All right. What is the next one? TI. The TI stands for trial, inclusive, as well as exclusive. All right. Here also, again, you have this one here, right? Somewhere we have already mentioned this particular one. Here it is. Inclusive, exclusive criteria not met. What is the topic variable for this? I have IE test code, right? The same IE test code will be part of this. So now you guys tell me, is it really difficult to remember this? Only for the special purpose domains you need to remember. For the rest of them, if you know what the domain is all about, you can easily one. So the reason why we are discussing this in detail is the topic variable is the one which will simply give the whole information about that particular domain. So that's the reason it is important. That is the reason you need to understand the domain as well as the topic variable. This is supposed to be on your fingertips. Questions? Any
Murli,
questions
for
from anyone?
TI, for
Yes.
TI and the other one where we wrote inclusion and exclusion.
Hmm.
Yeah. So there here we have IE test CD.
Hmm.
So we can also have EX test CD, right? Where we have
Yes.
inclusion. Okay.
No.
No?
See, for this particular one, for this IE domain,
Hmm.
maybe I can show you here. So in detail we can have, but it is not like, since it is inclusive, I want to go with I. If it is exclusive, I want to go with E. No, it is not like that. So here
Okay.
I stands for inclusive, E stands for exclusive. So it is for both of them together, it is IE only.
Understood. Yeah.
It is IE only. And we are not doing this. This is, we are defining as per the status.
Yeah.
It is part of the status, we are using that as is. As is. Clear?
Yes. 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 Understood.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Any questions? Yeah. Any other questions from anyone? All right. Now, so now you know what is called your identifier variable. We know what is called timing variable. We also know what is called your topic variable. Three variables, three types of rules, three types of roles are already done. The fourth one is rule variable. Here I have rule, right? So the name itself is telling, which gives information about start rule and end rule. When the rule is actually starting and that specific information. Start rule and end rule information. That is part of your. Okay. So let's talk about this particular one. For an example, I have trial elements. Let's understand this easily. Trial elements. So what this trial elements is going to tell you, maybe we don't have complete idea on it, but simply I'll give you two variable names there. Let's say trial TESTRL. I have TENRL. Now you can see TE stands for trial elements, RL stands for rule, ST stands for start, EN stands for end. That is nothing but when this element rule start, when this particular element, okay, or I can say that element start rule, when it actually started, when it actually ended. So for everything we are going to have this kind of information. For an example, you have TV. TV stands for your trial visits. So when I go with the trial visits, here also I have two things. I can simply call it as TVSTRL. What do you mean by TVSTRL? The name itself is telling to you trial visit start rule. When this particular rule started, when this particular rules ended. TVEN. Simply, so we have a bunch of rules. So when this rule started, when this rule ended, it gives the information about the rule. Understandable? It only gives information about when the rule is starting and when it is ending. All right. Now, we also have something called qualifier, correct? So let's go with the record qualifier. First one. Record is nothing but collection. You're recording something. Okay. From whom you will record? Okay. Go here. Let's look into your demographics. Yeah. So here it is. You can see something called record qualifier. It is nothing but actual output, right? Okay. Maybe even we can take some simple one. Yeah. This one. See this. Sex, race, ethnic, birth date and time, age. Who is going to provide this information to you? From whom you can get this information? Can I say from the subject itself, right? Right? Even if you say that, let's say your sponsor is there or whoever it is, whoever is bringing all the subjects to the picture, right? In the screening, first we are going to do the screening, right? We have ICF, that is consent form. Once the consent form is signed, you are going to do the screening. While doing the screening, you are going to take the information about what is the birth date and time, correct? So when this particular person, what is the age of this particular person, sex value, that is either female or male, what is the race, that is nothing but where exactly this particular person is part of, right? He's Asian or he's from the, what to say, US continent, exactly what is the race, correct? Or sometimes you can also go with black, all this kind of stuff. Ethnic, all this information, the record qualifier means those variable information we are actually collecting from the subject itself. So simply I can say that we ask subject, that is nothing but patient, we actually ask subject and record this information. Am I correct? In a very simple terms, right? We don't need to do anything. We simply ask the subject, either we can record or collect this particular information from the, right, from the subject itself. Exactly, Sanji. From the patient will get this information and the investigator will be the one who will document it. During the screening itself, we are going to document this. So what I can simply say that this is the information which we are getting from the subject itself. So what are the examples? The examples are going to be in a very simple way. I have age, sex, birth date and time, right? Your race, all these are going to be the examples for this particular one. Second one, result. It is also easy to understand. The name itself is telling to you this variable contains, right, information about any result. Information about any result. That can be a lab result, that can be your ECG test result, whatever it is, vital signs results, all this, right? Any test if you perform, the outcome, the result you are going to record it. For an example, let's say LBORRES. So you're going to remember all this, don't worry. So what is this LBORRES? I can simply say that laboratory original results. Exactly. We have something called LBSTRESC. Oh no, sorry. It is more than 8 characters. Let's say LBSTRESC. 4 plus 4, 8. Correct only. So it is going to be laboratory standard results. Here you have one more. Let me put that, both of them, let me explain together. Instead of C, I'm going to have N. Both of them are standard results only, but in a character format, in a numeric format. Easy to understand? When we discuss about the individual domains, you remember all this. No worries about it. Till that, just go with this. All right. Suppose this is for the laboratory. Only can you explain for any other domain? I can simply say that instead of laboratory, I'll replace that with VS, vital signs. So what do you mean by that? Vital signs original result, vital signs standard results in character. vital signs standard results in the clear everybody. It is all about information about your results, mostly related to the test, the outcome of your clear. Any questions? All right, let's go with the next one, which is nothing but your grouping variables. The name itself is telling you the grouping variable is all about it will group the information, which will give you the grouping information, correct? Maybe we can go with one simple example, then we can easily understand it. Example is more easy to explain this. Let's say that there is a lab category. Let's say that there is a category in the lab, that is LB cat stands for your lab category. The lab category, the test that you want to do is, let's say that it is going to be urine analysis. So when you go for the urine analysis, there are a lot of sub-tests that you are going to do there. There are a lot of tests that they are going to do, correct? Let's say that LB test 1. So they conduct a test 1, test 2, test 3, test 4. But all these tests, all these 4 tests are part of one simple category, and that simple category is nothing but your urine analysis, correct? I'm grouping all these test information on one category, that is nothing but your lab category. Sometimes for few tests we also have the subcategories. Let's say LBSCAT. LBSCAT stands for the laboratory subcategories. Let's say there is something called blood analysis, right? My category is going to be the blood analysis. What and all I can do under that? I can go for CBC, complete blood picture, CBP, correct? That is my lab subcategory. I can also go ahead with, this diabetes test, correct? I can go ahead with HB1AC, or I can go with your fasting blood sugar, or I can also go with the PBS. All these 3 are going to be the subcategories which are part of my, these 3 are the tests. Let's say subcategory is going to be, let's say that diabetes. Under this, what are the various tests that we are going to do? I can say the test number 1 is going to be fasting blood sugar. I have PBS, and I also have HB1, correct? All these 3 are the tests, but these 3 tests are groups under a subcategory called diabetes, and all these subcategories are part of the main category, which is nothing but the blood analysis. Are you able to understand now how we are going to do the grouping variables here? Under the lab, if I go with the lab test, there are so many tests, but they will be fall under either a subcategory or the main category. Is that clear? Can I have a quick confirmation from all of you? Is this understandable? All right. Synonym variables. These variables or these qualifiers generally comes to the picture. These are nothing but similar meaning variables. Simply means synonym is all the same, right? Anywhere it is going to be the same. Similar meaning variables. What do you mean by similar meaning variables? When you go with a similar, you are comparing more than one, correct? What you are comparing then? In that particular case, I can see that. Let's say we have something called AE-term, adverse events terms, followed by I have something called AE-DECOD. This is nothing but dictionary derived codes. That is nothing but medical dictionary. So we have medical dictionary, right? Just like how we have the different dictionaries for English, we have the medical dictionary. So the medical dictionary codes are different. For an example, let's say we have fever. Fever is the general terminology. In the AE, we are going to just simply mention that, hey, it is going to be fever. But if you go with your medical dictionary and if you search for this particular, disease, you don't have meaning. The meaning is different there. You do not the meaning. You are going to have a different name there. The name is not going to be the fever anymore there. You can call it as pyroxia, right? The fever is the term which you are entering into the AE term, but the same one has a different meaning in your medical dictionary. You can call it as pyroxia, right? Let's say headache. Headache is also a But in the medical dictionary also we are going to have the same name for it. It is also going to be the heading. Sometimes you are going to have the same name in the medical dictionary as well as in your EE term, but sometimes the names are going to be different. These information you are going to get it from your synonyms. Clear, guys, all of you? Simple. What is the decoded value as per the medical dictionary? That's it. Finally, variable. So the variable qualifier is nothing but these are the variables which contains units. What is that? Simply which contains units. So what exactly meaning? What is the meaning of it? Let's say here age. Can you see? Sorry, age u. Age u is nothing but a variable qualifier. What it has informed? What this information? Units associated with the age. What are the units associated with this particular age? Correct? Or so what are the units associated with this particular one? Can I say that number of years? Right? The different, you can see the age is different, age u is different. Age means, let's say 34, directly you can put there. But age u is years. Age u is years. Because what is the 34 is? The 34 is number of months, or it is going to be years, or it is going to be days. Correct? So that unit is part of your AGU. Can you understand the difference between age and AGU? One is a record qualifier which you are going to get it from the subject. The other one is a variable qualifier which is representing your units. Clear? Maybe I can go with another one. Let's say that we already have this one here, right? What is this? Lab original results. Correct? So simply I can put lab original results units. Again, I have vital signs, right? Vital signs original results units. It is all about what are the units, on what, with what units you are actually representing it. Correct? That information you are going to put there. Any questions from anyone? All of you are able to follow this. What is this role is all about? Now you know variable name, variable label, type, format, a role. Also you understand what is called code. The only thing which is missing here is going to be CDISC nodes. I just need to tell you what is the CDISC nodes is. Before I go there, can I have a quick confirmation? All of you are able to understand so far? Any doubts? Record qualifier we get from the subject? No. So record qualifier you don't get from the subject. It is the standard. Let's say that let's say I'm a subject, right? If you ask me how about your age, I can tell you in number of days, I can tell you in number of months, or I can also tell you in years, number of years. That's how many number of units, correct? Subject will not give you the precise information. Let's say I simply say 34, or you need to ask me, if you are an investigator, you need to ask me, hey, as per the standards, you need to tell your age only in the years. So as per the CDISC guidelines, the CDISC guidelines is the one which is going to define it. Whatever the definition, whatever the units which is mentioned by the CDISC, as per that particular one, you need to record this. So the answer for your question is going to be CDISC is the one which is going to decide the units. As per the units, you are going to ask the details while you are collecting or recording the data from the subject. Ankita, is that clear? When you ask the age, you ask, hey, tell your age in number of years. Like this, you're going to ask. All right. Even if you look at the laboratory, for every laboratory, if you see the standard, if you see any laboratory report, for an example, let's say diabetes itself, fasting blood sugar, let's say if it is going to be 120. The 120 is the number that you have got. What is that 120? It is going to be mg, or what exactly it is, what exactly the unit it is, and what is the permissible range. These two will be as per the FDA, as per the CDISC. Clear? That's the reason you also have the lab results information. You also have your vital signs original results information. CDISC. It is quite easy and straightforward. I can say that it is all about the guidelines for variables. I can say this and I can tell that. See, study ID. What is the CDISC notes is telling? Unique identifier for the study. So it is giving the information about this particular variable, right? Can you see this? Unique subject ID. It is telling that identifier used to uniquely identify a subject across all the studies for all applications or submissions involving the product. But the main important thing is this must be a unique number and could be a compound identifier formed by concatenating study ID, site ID, and subject ID. You have subject ID here, you have study ID here, you also have a site ID, that is hospital ID, correct? By concatenating all these three, I'm going to derive this particular variable. So what it is telling, not only it is giving the information about your variables, it is also helping you how to populate that particular variable. Am I correct? It is not just giving the information. For few variables, if it is a derived variable, it is also helping us how to derive that particular variable. Correct? So how to derive or how to populate. Am I correct? And finally, it also gives you what is the exact meaning of that particular variable. Am I correct? It will give the guidance. It also gives the information about how to derive or how to populate. And it also talk about what is the exact meaning of this particular variable. All these three information we are getting there. Correct? So now you know how to go with the domains, and in domain, what is the information is there. All of you are able to follow, right? That's the end of your SDTM standard guidelines. You also have given this particular information here. What is this identifier information is, what exactly, how to read it, each and everything I have mentioned here. And in addition to that, this notes also I will add there. So it is quickly you can refer it. Okay, so that's the end of guidelines. So from Monday onwards, we are going to start with our domains. We will start with our very first domain, which is nothing but under the special purpose domains. We will start with demographics. How each variable we are going to define there, what is each variable is telling, all the information, the standard guidelines, everything we are going to discuss under the demographics. All right. Is that clear, guys? Any questions? Can I have a quick confirmation from everyone? From here onwards, we are going with all the things. Trial events and trial elements are same. You're talking about the domains. Okay, let me show you that. So here it is. I only have trial events. Elements is different, events is different. Event is something which has happened. We are talking about the trial events. The subject elements are different. So we don't have any trial elements here. Questions? All right. Let me share this SDTM guidelines, the notes, and also the implementation guide to you. So please follow that. By Monday, we are going to start our very first domain, which is nothing but the domain. All right. So from Monday, you can also expect tasks as well. Questions? All right. Have a good weekend, guys. See you on Monday. Take care.